All right, let's talk about something that's, well, it's incredibly tricky. We're diving into how to spot those hidden manipulative behaviors, especially when they come from people who, on the surface, seem like the nicest person you've ever met. And this really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? Because that's what's truly at stake here: your time, your energy, and your emotional health. We're going to learn how to protect all of that from people who just aren't what they seem. You know that feeling, right? It's something so many of us have experienced. You meet someone new and they check all the boxes. They're charming, they're so attentive, they say everything you want to hear. But something just feels off. Exactly. It's that little voice in the back of your head, that gut feeling you just can't shake. You might even feel a little guilty for having it, thinking, but they're so nice. But that feeling, that's what we're going to unpack today. It's not you being paranoid, it's a warning bell. So, how do we actually see past that shiny illusion? Well, let's talk about a really simple but brilliant test that can reveal a person's true character pretty quickly. So, the source material we're looking at gives this behavior a memorable name. It calls it the Ivan Hogo archetype. And really, this is just a classic example of someone whose kindness is completely conditional. And here's the test. Just look at the contrast. Pay super close attention to how this person treats people they don't think they need to impress. Are they incredibly generous and attentive to their boss or to you? But then they're just rude and dismissive to the waiter or a younger sibling or the person at the checkout counter. That inconsistency, that is a massive, massive red flag. Okay, so beyond that first gut check, there are some really specific tactics you can start to look for. Let's dive into what you can basically think of as the manipulator's playbook. 3 big red flags that totally give the game away. First up is a tactic that the source brilliantly calls the shame hot potato, and yet it is exactly what it sounds like. It's this frantic, desperate effort to get rid of a bad feeling by just tossing it onto someone else as fast as possible. So here's how it works. When they do something wrong, they just can't handle that feeling of shame or guilt. So instead of actually taking responsibility, their immediate gut reflex is to somehow make it your fault. You'll hear things like, well, I wouldn't have yelled if you hadn't. That is a classic shame hot potato move. Oh, and you have got to watch out for this one. This is what's known as a reflexive sorry. It sounds like an apology, but it's not. It's not about genuine remorse at all. It's a tool, it's just a verbal trick designed to shut you down, end the conversation, and let them off the hook without ever having to actually own what they did. All right, red flag number 2. This one is incredibly dangerous, mostly because it often happens so slowly, right under your nose. And that is the strategy of isolation. See, a manipulator knows that your friends, your family, your support system, that's their biggest threat. And they have a playbook for this too. It usually starts really subtly. First, maybe they'll start criticizing your friends, planting little seeds of doubt, calling them a bad influence. Then they might start to actively create drama between you and your family. And the end goal is always, always the same: to cut you off from everyone else so that they can become the only person you feel you can rely on. Okay, let's just pause here for a second, because being able to spot their behavior is only half the battle. This next part is a bit tougher because it requires some honest self-reflection. We have to ask ourselves if we might be unintentionally helping them do it. This is a tough question, but it's a really important one. When they act out, when they're cruel or unfair, what's your first instinct? Is it to defend them, to try and explain away their bad behavior either to yourself or to other people? The source material actually has a name for this. It's called pathological responsibility. It's this tendency to absorb the blame for what other people do, feeling like it's your job to manage their emotions and keep the peace. And a lot of the time, it's driven by this deep, deep fear that if you don't smooth things over, they'll leave you. Do any of these sound familiar? Oh, they're just stressed. They had a really hard childhood. It's my fault. I pushed their buttons. Look, these are rationalizations that keep you stuck in that cycle. Sure, maybe they are stressed, and maybe they did have a difficult past, but those are reasons, not excuses. It's never your job to be a punching bag for their problems. So let's bring all of this together. After we've looked at all these external signs and these internal patterns, what's the single most powerful tool you have in your arsenal? Well, it's the one we started this whole conversation with. And this right here is probably the most important thing to take away from all of this. That unsettling feeling you get in your stomach, that little whisper of distrust, it is not you being crazy. It's not paranoia. It's your subconscious mind doing its job. It's recognizing a pattern of behavior that your conscious mind is still trying to make excuses for. It is valuable, reliable data. So I want to leave you with that thought. What if the loudest, most important red flag isn't some big, dramatic fight or an obvious betrayal? What if it's just that quiet, persistent, nagging feeling that something is just not right? Learn to listen to it. Trust it.